The city outside was a chronic ache. A low hum of economic dread, social fragmentation, and a future that seemed to shrink with each passing day. People moved through it with averted eyes, drowning in the constant, noisy present. In this environment, the services of the Mnemosyne Institute were not a luxury. They were a necessity. A sanctuary. For a substantial fee, the Institute offered a return ticket. Not to a place, but to a time. To a feeling. To the polished, perfect heart of one's own happiest memory. Arthur Vale was a keyholder to this sanctuary. A night manager. His shift began when the city's despair grew thickest, in the lonely hours between midnight and dawn. His workspace was a capsule of controlled quiet, a soundproofed booth in the Institute's sub-basement. It was styled in anachronistic comfort, wood paneling and soft amber lighting, a deliberate echo of a calmer, imagined past. Before him lay the console. An array of analog VU meters, reel-to-reel tape decks that served no mechanical purpose, and several deep, green-hued CRT monitors. This was the theater. And the memories were the show. He did not access them digitally. The Institute's technology was called the Silent Communion. It was biotechnical, synaptic. Clients underwent a gentle, non-invasive procedure that fingerprinted the specific neural pathway of a chosen memory. This fingerprint was encoded onto a dense, crystalline cartridge about the size of a cigar. Arthur's job was to load these cartridges into his console, monitor the playback for fidelity and client vitals, and ensure the experience was seamless. He watched the memories unfold on his screens. He heard them through his headphones. He felt the echo of the emotions through the console's haptic feedback pads. He was a ghost in other people's happiest moments. A professional voyeur of joy. It suited him. Arthur's own past was a quiet, gray country. A childhood of polite neglect. A life of careful avoidance. Other people's vibrant memories were a welcome distraction. He took pride in his work. He could sense when a memory stream was losing coherence, when the client's heart rate spiked with an unexpected, hidden pang of sadness. He would gently adjust the dampeners, guiding the experience back to its perfect, glowing core. He was an editor of paradise. The memory of client number 734 was a typical selection. A summer day at Lake Serenity. Age 12. The client was a woman, now in her 60s, her present life narrowed by illness and regret. The memory was pristine. The shock of cold, clear water. The smell of pine and sunscreen. The taste of a stolen watermelon slice. The sound of her father's laughter, a sound she had not heard in 40 years. Arthur settled in. It was a beautiful memory. Simple. Pure. For 53 minutes, it played perfectly. Then, as the young girl in the memory waded out into the deeper water, turning to wave at her father on the shore, the glitch occurred. It was not a freeze or a skip. It was an intrusion. For 3 frames, the sun-dappled surface of the lake darkened. The water became opaque, viscous. And something large, and indistinct, moved beneath the girl. A shadow that did not match the trees or the clouds. A shape with too many limbs. Accompanying it was a sound. Not through the headphones, but through the console itself. A low, wet, fibrous tearing noise, like roots being pulled from deep mud. Then it was gone. The lake was sunlit again. The girl splashed happily. The father waved back. Arthur sat bolt upright, his hands frozen above the controls. The client's vitals remained steady, serene. She had not felt it. The glitch was in the memory file itself. In the stored neural pathway. That was impossible. Memories could fade, they could blur, but they did not develop horrific, impossible insertions. Not unless something was deeply wrong. He followed protocol. He logged the anomaly. Timestamp 53:17. Audiovisual corruption. Possible deep file degradation. He filed the report into the Institute's system. It felt inadequate. The word corruption did not cover the cold dread that had slithered down his spine. The next night, his supervisor, a perpetually calm man named Elias, visited his booth. Elias wore a smile that never reached his eyes. The report on 734. You logged a glitch. Yes. It was pronounced. Memory is a fluid thing, Arthur. The conscious mind remembers the feeling, the joy, the safety. The subconscious, however, is a messy attic. Sometimes, old fears, shadows from other times, can bleed into the recalled image. It doesn't mean the memory is flawed. It means it's rich. Human. Elias placed a hand on his shoulder. Your job is to ensure the conscious, positive experience. Filter out the static. Not to go digging for monsters in the basement. The first rule, Arthur. Never engage. Only observe. We are custodians, not archaeologists. The rebuke was gentle, but firm. Arthur nodded. Yet the image of the dark shape in the water would not leave him. It felt more real than the sunny lake. More charged. His own nights began to change. The quiet of his apartment felt different. He started to dream. Not his own dreams, but fragments of client memories. A bicycle wheel spinning in sunlight. A specific pattern of wallpaper. But in the dreams, the details were wrong. The sunlight had a metallic taste. The wallpaper pattern, when stared at, would resolve into tiny, screaming faces. He woke feeling more tired than when he slept. The next glitch was in his own life. He was in a grocery store, reaching for a can of soup. A common brand. For a split second, the label was wrong. The letters were backwards. The colors were inverted. The can felt freezing cold. A woman next to him gasped, dropping her own can. They looked at each other, shared a moment of pure, unvarnished confusion. Then it passed. The label was normal. The woman shook her head, muttered an apology, and moved on. Arthur stood there, cold sweat on his neck. It was a crack in his own present. That night at the console, drowning in the warm nostalgia of a client's wedding day, he heard it again. Not through the headphones. A whisper, thread-thin, woven into the blank noise between the tapes. It was not a client's voice. It was dry, papery, desperate. Find the crack. He tore the headphones off. The booth was silent. The wedding played out mutely on the screen, a pantomime of joy. His own reflection in the dark glass looked pale, haunted. The whisper had not been in the memory. It had been in the machine. Or in the space the machine occupied. He thought of the Institute's motto, etched in brass in the lobby. Mnemosyne, we keep your yesterday safe, so you can face tomorrow. It had always sounded comforting. Now it sounded like a threat. What were they really keeping safe? And what were they keeping out? Arthur made a decision. He broke the first rule. On his next shift, with a routine, harmless memory of a Christmas morning playing, he did not just observe. He engaged. He slowly, carefully, turned down the emotional dampeners. He lowered the filters designed to keep the memory pure and bright. He allowed the full, raw, unedited neural feed to wash over his monitors. The Christmas tree glittered. The children laughed. And then, in the corner of the scene, in the dark hallway leading to the kitchen, he saw it. A figure. Standing perfectly still. It was not part of the memory. The client, as a child, did not look at it. The parents did not acknowledge it. It was a silent, dark intruder. A stain on the happy scene. As he watched, the figure turned its head. Slowly. Deliberately. It looked not at the Christmas morning, but directly at Arthur, through the layers of time and technology, into the observation booth. The console emitted a sharp, painful ping. A warning. Client vitals spiked. Arthur hurriedly restored the filters. The figure vanished. The memory returned to its perfect, sparkling state. The client's heart rate settled. He sat back, breathless. He had not found a crack in a memory. He had found a door. And something was standing on the other side, watching him back. The whisper made sense now. It was not a command. It was a plea from the other side of that door. This concludes part 1 of The Night Manager. The nostalgia is a veneer. Beneath it, the past is not safe. It is occupied. And the night manager has just made eye contact with the occupant.